Good evening. I am the narrator, and welcome to my parlor. Tonight's topic is my grandfather's house. On my first video of this series, I discussed my childhood experiences. Some occurred at my grandfather's house. I referred to others' experiences there and said I would discuss them in a later video. This is that video. First, my family. My father and his brothers, of whom he is the youngest. My grandfather, my grandmother, my paternal great-aunt and uncle, and my father's cousins. They all appear in these stories. The house was built in the late 1900s. They bought it in 1958 or 9, when my father was an infant. The first story was in the late 1960s, on a summer weekend night. My second oldest uncle and second cousin bicycled home after playing in a high school baseball game. When they arrived, only they were awake. It was probably between midnight and 1 a.m. They went to my uncle's room to sleep. There, my second cousin saw a woman at the foot of the bed, whom he described as small and old. She looked curious, leaned in to look at him. He turned on the light and she vanished. Though terrified, he said nothing at the time. During this period, my father had two experiences. One weeknight, he dreamt he woke in the dead of night and descended the stairs to the first floor, then went to the window and saw a giant dog watching him. He was scared. One winter weeknight around 7 p.m., he left his family in the kitchen and went to the den. There, he looked out the window and saw a figure limping across the sidewalk, one leg dragging behind the other. It was man-like. Hair covered its face, which had an animal-like snout. It wore rags. Though grossly underdressed, it seemed not to shiver. He watched until it crossed the street and vanished. Though terrified, he told no one. In the summer, a couple of years later, on a weekday morning, one of his cousins went to the back room on the second floor to play their tabletop hockey game. Gradually, he grew exhausted and laid on the floor, even though it was old linoleum. Thought missing, he was found at last about 3 hours later. He thinks little of the experience, other than it was somewhat weird. In his mid-teens, my father had a series of dreams where a woman would appear to and interact with him. One morning he saw her for real. He was walking to a local park when she bicycled past him and looked back, smiling as if to say, "Yes, it's me." By then, the dreams had ceased and she never returned. Alas, he recalls little of their specifics. One night he was 19 and home from college for the summer, sleeping in his room. Suddenly he awoke and saw a woman in 1920s clothes holding a period shopping bag at the foot of his bed. Their eyes met and she looked stunned, as if surprised to see him, surprised someone was there. Then she vanished and he fell right back asleep. One night in fall 1982, when he was working in Chicago, his mother called, afraid. She claimed she was hearing footsteps on the second floor, like someone was walking around. He had to stay on with her for 45 minutes. In the mid-'80s, my grandparents traveled, so were often gone. Note the home's electrical wiring could be seen from the outside. One time they returned to find a newspaper tucked between the shingles and the main power feed, its edges charred. Someone had tried to burn the house down, but luckily, or not, the shingles were inflammable. On a Friday night in 1985 or 6, my parents, my youngest uncle, his wife, and their children stayed the night. When they first arrived, my grandfather began to say, "Hey, did you hear about our latest haunting?" But my grandmother abruptly shushed him. My cousins were little more than infants then. She died in 1988, on the day of my birth. She was always unnerved there, and when alone, slept on the couch instead of in their room. He lived alone until 1997, when his sons moved him to an assisted living center, Alzheimer's. One summer afternoon in the mid-'90s, my aunt was vacuuming in the same bedroom where my second cousin saw the woman. That is, my great-aunt. Suddenly she felt a hand touch her arm. At first she thought it was her granddaughter, but the girl was downstairs. Looking and seeing no one, she was terrified. My grandfather died in 1998. The whole summer and part of the fall, we went every weekend to clean the house for sale. I already discussed this in my first video, but will again. We always felt the same things. The atmosphere was dense, like it could be felt. Time seemed non-existent. You could be in there for what felt like hours, then step outside and find just 20 minutes had passed. We always felt watched and followed, listened to, having our thoughts read, just like me in my childhood home. My father thinks they sold it in May 1999. That fall, the buyer was working in the back bedroom when he saw the window was broken and a dead rabbit laying on the sill amidst broken glass. It had clearly been tortured and killed. He eventually lost the house. We don't know its current owners. We haven't been since, though still see it whenever we visit Marinette. Its reputation is intact. What to make of all this? The woman my second cousin saw was either a ghost or something else, like the one at my uncle's house. If she was a ghost, she could have been a previous inhabitant. When she leaned in, she may have been interested in the living's proclivities, or studying him for darker reasons. That she vanished in the light meant she was either startled or afraid. If she was a ghost, the former is more likely. If something else, the latter, maybe. She was a low-level demon. My father's first dream was most likely a standard nightmare. I would dismiss it as such, but for where it occurred. His second experience is far more interesting. He had never seen him before, nor has he since. He never asked around, but never heard of anyone like that locally. The town is small, though not close-knit. If such a person lived there, he would have been well known and discussed. To me, he sounds like a phantom stranger with his dumpy clothes and unkempt appearance. I don't know the combination of animal and human features and the physical disability. The out-of-date clothes, suggesting a bygone era, are similar to other Fortean tropes. The hat man often wears a fedora and a blazer, like a character from an old detective magazine. The men in black's Hamburg hats are quaint. The cousin's nap. Again, it was morning. He had slept the night before and wasn't tired. Maybe an entity had lulled him into an altered state. I believe this mechanism creates abductions. But he recalls no dreams or sensations, only that he was asleep. Maybe regressive hypnosis could help. Then again, maybe he had an undiagnosed medical condition. I doubt this. It had never happened before and hasn't since. My father's dreams of this woman are very interesting. I wish he recalled more details. Strangers almost never appear in dreams, especially in more than one. That she later appeared by day and acknowledged him, greeted him, is stranger still. What was she? She never harmed him or indicated she would. All in all, she seemed benign. Often negative entities first appear as benevolent, only to later reveal their true natures or have them exposed. But those attachments are usually longer and more elaborate. She only appeared in a couple of dreams, best my father recalls. Still, my only comparison is negative, the girl who appeared to Cornelio Closa, the Philippines disappearing boy. Then again, maybe she wasn't paranormal. Maybe she was just a local woman who took an interest in my father and was adept at astral projection. Still, he was a teen and she an adult. The woman he saw with the bag. Again, she was either a ghost of a past former resident or something else. Maybe she was surprised to see someone sleeping in her home, in which case she must have been gone for years before returning. Could both she and the other woman have been the same entity at different ages? Can ghosts appear as they were at different ages? I doubt she was a mimic. Usually seeing people doesn't surprise them. Usually they're emotionless. Of course, skeptics will dismiss these episodes as sleep paralysis. I doubt it, because of where they occurred. The footsteps my grandmother heard, what were they? Those of a ghost or something never human. One of the woman figures? Again, I doubt it. They've always been described as sounding like a man's, unless at least one of those figures wasn't what they seemed. Unless they were something else in different forms, and this was one. I doubt I will ever know what my grandfather mentioned in the 80s. Like so much else, my grandmother took to her grave. The hand my great-aunt felt. Could it have been the same entity or entities? If so, why did one touch her shoulder? If they were ghosts, maybe they'd forgotten the feeling of flesh and sought to recall it. If they were something else, maybe they had never known or were just trying to scare her. Maybe both ghosts and other things resided there. I wonder the relations, the dynamics between them. The atmosphere we all felt. Was it the work of these entities, or a side effect of their presence? It didn't feel like a presence in the house, but like the house itself. I don't know what to make of that. As for the arson, who knows? Again, the house had and has a local reputation. Maybe someone thought the town was better off without it. Or maybe my grandfather had enemies he kept secret. As for the rabbit, who knows? Maybe a mentally ill person killed it, or a self-styled Satanist. At the time, the place was decayed and looked abandoned. Maybe they thought it would be convenient to dispose or even perform a sacrifice. Maybe its reputation drew them and they bid their time until the owner died and it was sold. I know of no such types in the area at the time, though I've never researched it. Maybe there were, and I've never come across them, or they never made the news. Recently, my oldest uncle mentioned he saw the or a woman, but didn't specify which. Interestingly, the phenomena was distributed much as it was in my childhood home. The first floor was mostly clear, the second was more intense. My oldest uncle's room was the worst, just like mine. As always, if you've had similar experiences or just insights and would like to discuss them on this channel, feel free to email me at tparish1@new.rr.com.